Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Longworth. Welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Cedar Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up. We'll get into all sorts of controversies, so I hope you'll stay through for the whole program. But we open up with an exciting couple of guests. They've both been here before. We're so glad when they can spend some time with us. On my right, the legend, the winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Hall of Famer, the king of all racing, Richard Petty, is here, and his beautiful daughter, Rebecca Petty Moffitt, who has been with us before, too. Thanks for coming back, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. And your first visit on Triad Today was back in 2003 when we first started. That was our first year, and we talked about Victory Junction. And then you and Rebecca and your grandson, Thad, came over, her son, for your 80th birthday. We did that back in 2017.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
That was a while ago. And but anyway, we appreciate that. Let me talk. People know you all over the world, but let me try to go into something very quickly that maybe people don't always know about. That's Petty's Garage. You've got your own company called Petty's Garage. Now, what do you all do there, and what do you do for folks?
Do anything anybody wants done to a car. If it's got four wheels on it and a motor, we take. People bring cars in baskets, and we make a car back out of it.
Really?
And then we take brand new cars. A lot of people want more horsepower. We got our own engine shop. We got our own body shop if they want body work, paint jobs, whatever. Put bigger brakes on them, bigger tires, just modify the car, basically.
And is that right there near your home? Where's it located?
It's where Petty Enterprises was in Level Cross, right beside the museum.
Yeah.
In Level Cross. So, we started that, basically, we moved Petty Enterprises over to Mooresville. And so we had 3 or 4 guys that didn't want to move to Mooresville, and I had 3 or 4 race cars that we needed to redo to put in the museum.
And now anybody can bring their car in.
One thing started as a seed, and it's just grown from there.
I think it's great. So anything from I want my car to look like Richard Petty's blue 43 all the way up to muscling it up.
We painted up 4 or 5 cars at different segments. Some of them are just Petty blue, some of them are Dayglow red and blue, and any kind of fancy stuff they want, we can do.
That's great. I have to bring my car over there sometime. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of racing, very quickly, congratulations, Eric and your team, and they won at Darlington. Going pretty well, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a good night for us. Everything kind of fell together. We've been running good enough to finish really good, and then at the end of the race or something, we've had a little problem. Down there, everything went our way. Other people had problems, and we didn't. Yeah. So we wound up winning the race.
Well, now, Rebecca, let me turn to you, because you're, as folks know from seeing you on the show before, Executive Director of the Petty Family Foundation. Very quickly, remind us what the mission is and who you help.
So we like to say we help those who help others. We do a lot with Victory Junction. We do a lot with veterans. We do a lot with children, scholarships, things like that. Now,
you have some big events coming up in a few weeks. Tell me about that.
The first week of October, we're having our golf dinner on the 4th, I think the 4th, and our golf tournament on the 5th at Grandover.
That's right. And I was looking at some notes I had, because we're going to put that up on screen in just a second. Now, is there any auction stuff going on, or people eat dinner that night, or what's going on?
We have a great silent auction and a live auction. We've got some really good things in the live auction.
I bet.
And like Phil Ford will be there, Ricky Prohl will be there, of course Richard Petty will be there.
Yeah.
So it's a great night of fellowship the night before, and then a fun day of golf the following day.
And the golf over at Grandover. So I guess since I saw you walking around Wyndham that day, you're just going to go out there and play golf, aren't you?
No, not me. I played 2 games, the first and then the last one. And that was it. My dad was great at playing golf. But
that's right. Lee was good.
I never took up that much time.
Well, I want to put up on screen a couple things, just to remind what Rebecca said. Tuesday, October 4th, dinner, and that's at Petty's Garage, right? Mm-hmm. 6:30 thereabouts. And Wednesday, October 5th, as Rebecca said, golf. It's going to be at Grandover, and I think people are going to tee off around 9. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let me put this up on screen too, because if you want more information about that, and you have to, pay for the dinner tickets and that kind of thing, or if you want to get into a foursome of the golf, pettyfamilyfoundation.org you can go to for more information. That's pettyfamilyfoundation.org. And also, while we're talking about things, give another shout out to Petty's Garage. You can go to that website, pettysgarage.com. And since I mentioned the time that y'all were on together, folks, you can go to triadtoday.com. Scroll down on the YouTube channel of that, and there on December 23rd, 2017, you can watch that whole show, and I appreciate it. I know one thing I was going to ask you. We talked about your grandson Thad, of course Kyle and Adam. You never pushed the boys into racing, did you?
No, that was one thing. Even my dad didn't push me into it. I just grew up around it, didn't know any better. And when the time came, I got involved in the thing. And same thing happened to Kyle. He grew up around it. We lived right next to the shop, and when it was yay big, till he got in a race car, he was at the race shop.
Decided he wanted to do it.
And so he decided he wanted to go racing, and Adam was the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Thad comes along, and he grows up with nothing but racing around him.
That's
and
right.
They don't know any better.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing this. And was being in the Hall of Fame the most exciting thing, or being here for this 900th episode? Which
That is a tough question.
you're a diplomat. You're not just a race car king. You're
Try to be anyway.
That's right. Rebecca, thanks for this.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all for everything and all the work you do with the foundation.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and I'm excited about having this guest with us. He does such great stuff in the community, and our good friends Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust said, let's get him on here, and I thought that's a great idea. With me right now, Dr. S.T. Patterson. He's Executive Director of something called Neighborhoods Hands. Now, you know him throughout the community for many, many years, but I want to learn about Neighborhoods Hands. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
All right, now tell me what Neighborhoods Hands is, what the mission is.
Well, Neighborhood Hands is a 501c3 organization located in the heart of East Winston. We have several programs: a food pantry, community garden, after-school program, workforce development, computer lab, e-learning center, and we just try to do everything we need to do to help the community.
When did you get started, and why did you think there was a need to get started?
Well, we actually got started in May of 2020 during the pandemic. And the sole purpose was only to serve food for the community. And that just blew up. We started serving food on a weekly basis. Then people needed computer services, internet services, so it just went from there.
There was such a need. There's always been a need around here for various kinds of services. But man, when the pandemic got here, you're right, everything just blew up. And it seemed like there's probably a lot of demand for what you were doing, right?
Yes, it was especially with the workforce development and computer services. Many people in the East Winston area do not have accessibility to the internet. So they come up there and use our computer lab to search the web, look for jobs, do applications, you name it.
Now, what goals do you have for the organization? We've talked about where you got started and why. Where are you headed? What goals do you have? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Let's look in the crystal ball.
Well, our goal is to really be a larger vehicle for the community. Right now, we probably service about 100 to 200 people a month, but maybe the goal is trying to service maybe 500 to 600 people a month with the computer services. But right now, weekly, we serve approximately about 800 people with food pantry. And within 5 years, maybe we can serve maybe 2,000 people.
Wow. And you talked about kids, you talked about workforce development. What about folks my age and elderly folks? I mean, do you help them too?
Yes. We have transportation. We go and we service people at the Sunrise Towers and Crystal Towers, which is part of the Housing Authority of Winston-Salem. We help them find part-time jobs. We feed them food. If they need transportation, we provide the transportation to them as well.
The Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust, I mentioned a couple minutes ago, great foundation. The Charitable Trust, they suggested that, hey, this would be a great topic to talk about, and they support your organization. How important is their support in you trying to maintain and sustain your mission?
Oh, their support is just phenomenal. I'm saying they really came out and supported us, what we're doing with our mission, our vision, with the resources, and that's the key to a nonprofit, resources. And when you have the right resources, you're able to help the community.
You know, you're no stranger to nonprofit organizations. What's gratifying to you about helping?
When we can come back and say, when the family come back and say thank you for helping us in their time of need, that's all. It's just amazing when a family come back and say thank you very much.
Well, I want to put something up on screen here. Neighborhoods Hands, neighborhoodshands.com. So check that out and learn all about what Dr. Patterson is doing to help folks, and also a good shout out to the good folks at KB Rentals. You can go to kbr.org. Thanks for everything you do for folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, always glad we can spend a few minutes with some of the good folks from Randolph Community College. They do such good work. And right now is a special guest that we're going to speak with. Randy Gunter is Dean of Continuing Education and Workforce Development at Randolph Community College. Thanks for coming to the show.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, we spend a lot of time talking about various programs at community colleges, and sometimes shoved aside, we don't talk about continuing education enough, I don't think. Give us a few examples of some things that are available in continuing education at Randolph Community College.
Sure. Some of our routine programs that we run in continuing education are more short-term. Folks can come in and get a certification or a credential from us and do that in a semester. So the programs that we routinely run are heating and air. We run plumbing and we run welding as part of our construction programs. And some of those actually have some certifications with them. Our heating and air, a student can come through the level 1 part of that program. They can get their EPA refrigerant recovery certification.
Well, that's important nowadays.
Absolutely, it is. And you know, the businesses look for that. So we tend to focus more on residential training for that. And a lot of our students actually can get hired the first couple of weeks of class. Some of our companies will come in and talk to the students, and they'll go ahead and hire them on while they're continuing to do their training.
Yeah, that brings me to something else, because you handle a lot of workforce development things as well, and it sort of ties together, because your whole goal, and we've talked about this a lot with Dr. Shackelford, who recently retired, we would always talk about how you guys get folks ready to work. And from day one, you know, you step out of there and you're ready to go. So in that regard, how is continuing education linked up in supporting area manufacturers?
So we have a connection with our area manufacturers. One of the ways that we do that, there is a customized training program that is housed in the continuing education department. And that program is funded by our state. And so they actually provide quite a bit of funding every year to touch all 100 counties in North Carolina. So we provide training such as we can do proprietary or skilled training on specific pieces of equipment. We can do training like Management Essentials and Leadership 101 for first-time supervisors and things of that nature. We can also do things that they need, such as forklift and OSHA type training so that their instructors are safe with the equipment that they use.
Yeah, I think that's great too, because you're really sort of tailoring things to meet the needs of business and industry. And that leads me to this. What do you see as the challenges to business and industry today, and how are you helping them meet those challenges?
One of the biggest challenges that we hear, and we've heard this for quite a while, is finding skilled workers to come into their factories and work. And obviously we have, you know, the major announcement with Toyota that just recently happened. There's also some projects in Guilford County with Boom Supersonic, and then Chatham County has VinFast and Wolfspeed that's just announced over there. And they've created roughly, 20,000 plus jobs here in the last 6 months. So, workforce development will be a key part of that in getting those workers into some short-term training so that we can get those workers prepared to go in and be job ready as they go into these manufacturing jobs.
I think that's great. Up on screen, I want to put this up before I forget, www.randolph.edu. That's randolph.edu, which gives you a lot of good information about the courses that are available and all sorts of information. And Randy, I hope you'll come back sometime, and I want to find out what new programs are on the horizon and what you're up to. So will you do that sometime?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and glad to have my two good buddies with me right here, David Daggett and Griff Schuler from Daggett Schuler Attorneys at Law. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, Jim. Good to see you.
Let's talk about something serious, which is school bus safety. It's that time of year. David, I'm going to start with you. And we have a couple big charts we're going to hold up. We also have some digital images we can go to. So let's see if we can make some sense of this. A lot of kids, not everybody, but most of them will be standing out near the road waiting for a school bus every morning. What should parents teach their kids about being safe at the bus stop?
Well, we all see them. Is you want your young people or young students to be trained to be on the sidewalk or on the grass next to the street, out of the road. And for the most part, our young people are pretty good at doing that. They got to be warned of distractions. When I was younger, I'd get distracted by anything that goes by. Warned of distractions. I'll tell you, recent news, school buses now have webcams on them. And what you see drivers doing ought to shock any parent so that they have that conversation with their student.
Right. And Griff, sort of the flip side of that, what should motorists know very quickly about coming up to a bus stop?
Well, David mentioned distractions, and distractions as they apply to the student. Distractions for the drivers, cut down on distractions, and be patient. And if you see a school bus, slow down. If you see a school bus, there's a good chance it's going to stop.
Right.
So keep that in mind as you're driving. Anticipate and pay attention.
Now, let's see some of those charts here, but I don't want to ask you a question.
I was going to say, that's why school buses are big and yellow. You're supposed to pay attention.
It talks about 2 lanes and 1 lane. Give me some tips on what the motorist should know.
Yeah, so here is the basic rule when there's a school bus, is when it stops and puts its flashers on, you stop. Where people tend to get a little bit confused is when you have a center turn lane.
Right.
Or when you have a 4-lane road.
And I'm way over on the other side. I see the school bus way over there, but
stop.
You still stop.
You still stop. Center turn lane, stop, and a 4-lane road stop. Now the difference is, and thanks, Griff, is on number 4, the top photo there, is you have a concrete barrier. So, I don't know, Silas Creek Parkway has a concrete barrier
right.
or a median in between.
Okay.
The other side doesn't have to stop. And then number 5, I think this is the most confusing one of the bunch. Maybe the most dangerous situation is when you have 4 lanes with a center turn lane, the oncoming traffic does not have to stop. So, we need to teach our kids when you're on a 5-lane road, basically, the other side is not stopping. So
you're saying if there's a concrete barrier or something that's where it gets confusing.
That's number 4.
Right.
And I think Jim, the one that Dave is exactly right. The confusing thing is the difference between this number 5 and then what we have up here is number 2. If it's a 2-lane road with a center turn lane, if it's a 2-lane road with a center turn lane, then everybody, all directions, has to stop.
Okay.
If it's a 4-lane highway with a turning lane, with a center turning lane, then the opposite side does not have to stop.
I tell you, this is good information, guys. I'm glad you brought that, and I want people to really listen to that to keep their kids safe, especially now they're going back to school and they're running around. And also, I want to put up on screen before I forget the DaggettSchewerLaw.com website in case you should ever need help from these guys. 724-1234. Guys, thanks for giving us this information and tips.
Hey, the last word, when you see a kid at a bus stop, roll down the window and give them a kind word to start the day.
That's good, too.
And happy 900th.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm 900 years old. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and almost time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to our good friends, Adrian and everybody here at the Senior Botanical Garden. You can check out the website, come to the garden, great place to do stuff. It's been our home since the beginning of the pandemic in April of 2020. We appreciate that. All right, to the roundtable on my right, but always political left, Ogie over in the great broadcaster and journalist David Daggett, who we held over from the last segment, talking about school bus safety. And now David's on the roundtable, and Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, here in America, we excoriate anyone or his business or family if their wealth was based on slavery or some atrocity. Meaning no disrespect to the late Queen, but her family has gained wealth down through centuries of slavery, of torture in some cases, all sorts of things. So, I mean, are we hypocrites? Try to help me understand, because we seem to be so obsessed with the royal family, and yet back here, if they had done the things they had done over the centuries, we would excoriate them. Ogie.
Well, first of all, we tend to gloss over these things because of our shared ancestry. settled by the English initially. But the real fact is that we're guilty of absolute same atrocities. There's this small matter of several centuries of slavery, destroying American Indian culture.
And yet we let it
Japanese
slide.
internment.
We think the Queen and the King, they're great.
Well,
We don't-
it's the government and the monarchy are two separate things anyway.
Yeah, but you know,
you're
people don't
conflating
realize that the monarchy, the Queen, the King has control. They can suspend Parliament. They can start a war. They have a lot of powers they don't use.
Yeah,
but
but
I'm
they
talking about
don't use
centuries past. David.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. Now, I'm not a lover of the monarchy, but times have changed. Paradoxically, the monarchy in recent years has been an advocate for equal rights across all people.
I'd be an advocate too if I had $50 billion from
and that sort of thing. The other thing that they have done is the other benefit of the monarchy is in these polarized times, they've kind of been a rudder of being agnostically in the middle and not following politics. I think that's helpful.
Are we hypocrites or what?
Absolutely hypocrites. The American economy was built on the back of slavery. I mean, of slaves. So we can't really look at it as being hypocrites because the nation that we in was created and built on slaves. So therefore, the slaves themselves haven't received anything from that, and so we can't really look at it as different. I think it's the same. And the monarchy is just an image, marketing campaign. That's what we're dealing with, a marketing campaign.
All right, former state legislator Derwin Montgomery was recently charged with embezzlement. I don't want to discuss his case, but here's what I want to get to. He turned himself in. He said he's not guilty, and yet when he appeared in court, he was fully shackled, like, hands, feet, the whole thing, as they seem to do with anybody who comes in there. My question, guys, is this seems a little extreme. In general, should folks charged with a nonviolent crime be shackled when they're just going before the judge? Ogie.
I wonder if the fact that he's a black man had anything to do with it.
I don't know. David, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I've been in court a lot of times over the years. I don't handle criminal cases anymore. I was a little surprised when I saw the video of that.
Key.
I think it's a shame that man came into the courtroom shackled, and I think it does boil down to race in a lot of different ways. And I think sometimes as politicians, we get treated differently, especially black politicians when they get in situations like that. So I think it definitely deals with race.
I hope he comes out okay. Good guy. He appeared on the show before. The town of Kernersville is still struggling with enforcement of their new noise ordinance. Recently, police repeatedly warned one bar owner, you got to tone it down or we're going to cite you and the band. And they did. Here's my quick question. We don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but in general, I think we know that a venue operator, a bar owner, whatever, if he's guilty of something, that's one thing. Should members of a band be cited for that or just the owner?
No, you can't penalize the band. We used to play in a club in Kernersville and outside, and they'd shut us down every time.
But you didn't get an individual citation.
No, the band,
Don't
no.
plead guilty. This wasn't Ogie we're talking about, was it?
That's right. That's right. What do you think? Should individual?
I think it's, I look at it as the captain of the ship doctrine is it should be the owner of the establishment should control the band or what it has.
Just the owner or members of the band?
Depending on if the band is good or not. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's the owners. It's the owners. It's definitely the owners.
All right. That's right. That's right. In order to combat rising crime in Forsyth County, District Attorney Jim O'Neill is proposing a juvenile curfew be imposed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Good idea or bad idea, Ogie?
I thought Greensboro tried this a few years back with kids running crazy downtown, and it actually kind of worked. They did it temporarily, and they beefed up the bicycle cops, and it pretty much worked.
What do you think, Mr. Daggett?
Yeah, I think it's problematic. It's problematic from several points of view. One is the kids that aren't causing problems, they're being punished too. And then you have enforcement issues. What about somebody who works late and is driving home? And, who's going to arbitrate and legislate all these different scenarios that come up? You have a babysitting job.
Yeah.
You're picking up dad at the airport when he flies in on a late flight.
Or playing sports.
Yeah, how are you going to do this?
Yeah, Keith, what do you think?
I think this is political. I mean, I'm not trying to be political, but Judge Hartsfield is a person who believes that going into community is more important than doing curfews. Being a part of the community's community policing, those are things that we need to do.
All right, good thought. Finally, the Huffington Post reports that defective sex toys are now being recycled and made into shoes by the Good Faith Shoe Company. Guys, would you buy a pair of these recycled shoes, Ogie?
Where can you get them? Is it online?
I don't know, but it's David, would you
Well,
buy?
I have to defer to Ogie on this
Yeah.
one. Ogie's one of my heroes,
Yeah.
so I defer to Ogie on this one.
Keith, would you wear a pair of shoes made from defective sex toys?
I love shoes, but I'm not wearing anything that's defective. I don't want anything defective around me. Don't stay away from defective stuff.
Yeah, I can tell you 3 things that are defective right here. All right, well, that's, guys, thanks for hanging here. Ogie's 18th year, Keith's 17th, Dave's 8th year on the roundtable. We appreciate all your help over the years, guys.
Happy 900.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And
the
that's,
star of the show.
We should sing that to you.
yes, that's right. Just about
Happy
all the time.
900 to
That's
you.
right. That's all the time. Oh, well, I don't know. I forgot to say. Last week, a Southwest Airlines pilot threatened to turn the plane around and go back if one male passenger didn't stop sending nude photos to all the other passengers. Quote, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was against the rules," said Ogie Overman.
That would be something he would say.
Yeah, for all of us here on Triad Today, we'll see you next week.